What's up, guys? Welcome to Leaders with Heart. I'm your host, Paddy McDonald, and I'm so excited to share this conversation with my good friend, Nico DiMattina, today. Nico is a meditation teacher and a corporate wellbeing expert, and more importantly, he's someone I see out there really walking the walk when it comes to spirituality. A lot of people know all the theory and know all the practices, but what I love about Nico is whenever I'm around him, I just feel really good about myself. I just feel inspired by life and enthusiastic to be happy. And to me, that's a great sign of someone who's actually doing the work and really choosing to just show up in joy and presence moment to moment. So I think you're going to feel this when you actually listen to the conversation. So I invite you, as you listen to this, to notice how you feel just hearing him share his story and his message, as well as taking in the information. And you'll hear him relate this to his own journey with time in Silicon Valley, on the football field, and all sorts of different contexts in ashrams in India. He's got a very interesting story. So enjoy the podcast with Nico. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out. We love hearing from you. Much love. And we're live here with my brother, Nico. Thanks so much for being here, brother.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome, man. And super excited to share this conversation with anyone watching or listening today, and also just to share you as a person with anyone here, because one of my best friends and brothers, and just been so amazing and such an honor to share so many different worlds with you. You know, we met in a very spiritual retreat, and then very quickly afterwards we were collaborating in the business world. And it's not often that you meet a fellow person who's got one foot in both worlds. Mm. And I feel like it's that bridge archetype that we both play that was actually the inspiration behind this podcast as well. So really excited to dive into this with you today.
Yeah, it's good. It's great to be here, and I love sharing. I love being that bridge. And that's why I've been inspired by your journey as well, and how, you know, we're all operating in both places, and just to try and bring a bit of what we've learned into the world that might not know what else is out there.
Yeah.
So it's nice to sort of expand people to what's possible.
100%. So just to give anyone watching a little bit of context, do you want to just take us through a bit of your journey to, obviously we'll come to where we are now, and some of your beliefs and the things that really have helped elevate your life to the magic that you get to live today. But how did you get here? Like, what was the path from when you first started walking the path?
Yeah. So I think initially, you know, I've always been a very positive person and very optimistic, but I was never this healthy. I was never this energetic in terms of vitality, and I was never this clear in my head. So I think that's like, you know, when I look at it, I look at my life as like pre-meditation and post-meditation, because I teach meditation, and that's been like the single biggest influence in my life, like literally a life changer.
Yeah.
And so prior to meditation, I was plagued with self-doubt. I would get sick every 2 months, sinus infections, chest infections, tonsillitis. I'd go to the Western doc. They'd give me antibiotics. I'd get better. It would help the symptoms. It never looked at the root cause, though.
Yeah.
So I'd get sick again 2 months later. Never once, and this continued this cycle for about 15 years.
Wow.
Never once did a doc say, look at my stress levels and my lifestyle.
Yeah.
As soon as I started to meditate, things quickly shifted where I stopped getting sick.
Yeah.
So I had made the direct connection of stress with my sickness.
Yeah.
Then naturally I started to build up. I started to get confident with my immune system. Like we've got an immune system, but prior I wasn't very trusting of it because I'd smashed it for so many years with antibiotics.
Yeah.
So it really depleted me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't operating at my full vitality.
Yeah.
So meditation really helped support that process. And then not only did it help to support the process with health and vitality, but then I started asking some existential questions, which is, who am I and what's my purpose? Because at the time I was working at Google in California, at the headquarters there, Silicon Valley, just out of San Francisco. And, you know, I meant to be at one of the best companies in the world.
Yeah.
It was a great environment.
Yeah.
But I had this feeling in my stomach that something wasn't right.
Yeah.
I wasn't fully fulfilled. I didn't know why, though.
Yeah.
So meditation helped give me that clarity.
Interesting.
Which was I had more value to offer humans. And it was sort of like that's when Tony Robbins came on my radar.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I can use my positivity. I can use my natural gift of communication. And I can use my natural gift of like elevating humans to help them get into a higher version of themselves. So that stretched me into like moving towards that path. And yeah, so like my early background growing up in Melbourne was our family was a football family, Australian football. My dad played professional for Richmond.
Yep.
My brothers played for the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood.
Yep.
I was on Collingwood's list in the VFL team. So I played at a high level, but I didn't quite play seniors. But I was always around elite athletic performance and teams and good leadership. So I've been so grateful to be blessed with so many amazing leaders. And then that led me into the corporate world, into being a recruiter, talent acquisition, which I did for 10 years. And I worked at Google, I worked at the music company Pandora, and then the last company I worked at was Coinbase, crypto company. And I knew Coinbase was going to be my last corporate job before transitioning to doing what I'm doing now, which is teaching meditation, wellbeing speaking, and running these personal development programs.
Yeah, beautiful, man. Pretty full life you've lived in your very short time on this planet. But it's interesting to hear you say, that piece that's really shifted for you around health and vitality and well-being, given by most people's external observations, you were playing high level sport. You were from a family and an environment that really encouraged, physical health and vitality from the outside. And then going into a company like Google, which is known for being somewhere that promotes employee well-being, at least from some angles. And a lot of people would probably envision that as the epitome of health in some ways, but you were able to hear something else going on that was like hinting at something much more deeper rooted. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. So twofold. Are you familiar with the name Ben Cousins?
Yeah.
So Ben Cousins, for anyone who doesn't know out there, was one of Australia's top Australian football players for the West Coast Eagles. The top of his game. The fittest and one of the best players on the field. However, unfortunately, off the field, struggled with addiction and mental health problems. Now, why I bring that up is he hadn't yet mastered his mind. He hadn't yet, and a lot of us haven't, because a lot of us haven't been involved in a culture. When I say a lot of us in Australia. If we had grown up in, let's say, China or India or, let's say Mexico or Latin America, some of these ancient cultures where there's a history of a culture that is connected to plants and connected to nature and connected to doing this inner work to go beyond the mistaken intellect, we call it, right? The truth, not the truth. It's all the incessant mind chatter, right? All the stories of the self-doubt, you're not good enough, not beautiful enough. I was plagued by all of it, So yeah, I'm playing it there. I'm operating in these elite environments, but I wasn't yet at my full capacity of my potential. So I was still doubting myself, you're comparing yourself to others, not really owning and discovering your full uniqueness, your full power. And so this was the real game changer was, yes, Google did, what was cool about Google, they were offering daily yoga and meditation classes.
Yeah.
So that's when I really started to getting into doing all of this stuff daily. And so that was good. It was a very positive influence. And that's when I started to get clarity over like, oh yeah, I started to honor my uniqueness rather than compare myself to others. I was like, this is what my uniqueness is that I'm bringing and owning that completely. And then once I started to just course correct and really to sort of clear out all of those, the shadows of what was not me, I started to overcome that. You start to overcome fear and started to really establish myself in my true nature. Yeah. And this is why what I teach is this a transcending meditation technique, which is like where you transcend using a mantra. Transcend just means go beyond the thinking mind, which is what I call is where the fear-based limitations of the mind is. All the thoughts, they're all connected to fear. And until we anchor the mind to the heart and the body, then it becomes mind-body. It's like one entity working harmoniously together as a team. Once that started happening for me, I'm like, we're starting to work as a team now, rather than this is doing one thing and this is wanting to do something else.
Yeah.
Conflict.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so I see that team metaphor keeps coming through, even inside one person.
Yes, which is so cool that you bring that up, because the team is so connected to leadership.
Yeah.
And you and I collaborated on the weekend as co-leaders, and it was magic. And I think it's when the quality of a good leader is when we can be humble, bring your magic, but empower other people with their magic. Game changer.
Yeah.
Empowerment.
Interesting. Yeah, it creates much more opportunity for all the parts to thrive, not one part to try and dominate. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. And then I'm hearing with the mind-body thing you're saying, it's like, the mind having the humility to let the body play its part as well.
Yes. Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
Everything typically wants to dominate the mind. There's a great quote by Osho, one of the great spiritual masters, and his quote is, "The mind, a dangerous master, but a powerful ally."
Yeah.
And so typically before we've come to practices like meditation or breath work or conscious movement and just self-reflection and self-inquiry, before doing all of these, a lot of us haven't reflected on the mind and how it's operating. What are the quality of the thoughts? What are the quality of my speech? The quality of my actions? Once we start to then self-reflect, we realize, the mind was really not my ally at the time, until it's connected to here, connected to love, connected to your strength, connected to your heart's desires, rather than the egoic desires. So rather than a desire to do something to stand out in life, you're doing something because it's like your innate soul expression deep within your heart. It's a different desire.
Yeah. Wow.
Different energy, different intention.
Different quality. Yeah. So can we just zoom out one step as well and just love to really anchor in, why is this important? Because, anyone who's experienced both flavors knows that once you've lived in your heart, and once you've really been on your soul's path, it's very hard to go back to the old way of being. But until you've experienced it, it's really just an idea, right? So is there anything that you can share around that transition that can really kind of give people hope or motivation to take that leap?
Absolutely. Mentors. Have good teachers.
Yeah.
Get good mentors. How do you find them, I hear you ask? Follow the energy, right? We all have intuition, right? Unfortunately, the world that we're living in, it sort of stifles and blocks our intuition, or, gaslights us, which is invalidates what you're feeling, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of fear mongering, right? So it keeps us out of our power. However, the opposite of that is we are all intuitive. We've all got this mechanism within us. How do you know? How did we become friends? We liked each other's vibe. There was a beautiful synergy, a connection, and it felt inspiring. And so how I chose my teacher, I was living in New York at the time, and I remember I went to this retreat in upstate New York, and sure enough, there's this amazing Aussie dude named Johnny Pollard, and he was just so inspiring. And why I was so inspired was he was so authentic, and I could tell he had such deep wisdom coming from a humble place. And I was like, this is the dude. And then I saw him dance after the talk, and he was just free and liberated. I'm like, this guy is a groover, mover, and shaker.
Not the typical meditation teacher you think of, right?
He was very dynamic.
Yeah.
And that inspired me. I'm like, that's the kind of guy, he was probably, I think, 13, 14 years older than me at the time.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the kind of person who I want to embody, or I want to be. And obviously I want to be me, but I was inspired by his flavor. And so choose good teachers. And you and I had a chat recently about my speaker mentor, Mark Bunn, who's also written a book and, is one of Australia's top wellbeing speakers.
Yep.
So I've had these two people who have been phenomenal mentors for me, who were 15 to 20 years ahead of where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
So get people with good wisdom who you're feeling the energy with, and that'll help bring you up. At least you've got like a direction where you're going now. So many people don't rely on stuff online, right? In person, sign up for a retreat. Get in person with these energies, feel the vibration, feel the transmission. You get expanded, you get uplifted, you get inspired, and then now you can go about, the path. There's like, follow the crumbs.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Yeah, it's like you can definitely get a sense of it online or through something like a podcast, right? People are picking up a sense of your energy right now, but it's not the same as being in the room.
Yes.
And I feel like this is one of your superpowers actually, is like, you've spoken a little bit about the vibes or the energy or these kind of things, which again, if people are familiar with this language, is very obvious what you're talking about here. But for anyone that's not really used to words like the vibrations or the energy of things, I feel like just like listening to Nico talk is a great way to understand it, because I feel like most people, when they're around Nico, just feel better about themselves, just feel better like in their experience of life. And the way you talk, the way you move, the way you hold yourself just has a very uplifting energy about it. And so I feel like, that's what I hear when you say vibrations and energy. It's like people talk about good vibes. We can speak more about good vibes versus all the vibes, because they're all important. But, you very much, like, you radiate certain vibrations and energy that, like, is attractive for people to be around. And everyone's going to have their own things that they want to be around, right? So what you're talking about, I hear, is look for the things that make you excited.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Like, my vibe is not the same as your vibe, but my vibe maybe could be argued to be a little more grounded, right? Like, it's less kind of excitable and enthusiastic, and not better or worse, but yeah, it's very unique flavors, right? So it's not about being more like Nico.
Yes.
But seeing that as a model of like how free you can be in your own vibration as well.
I think that's the key here. We're talking about liberation, liberating ourselves from the prison of our minds, and being free in our body, free and expressive, so energy can flow freely through. And so we all want to, I love the quote by Oscar Wilde, be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. And as you were sharing that as well about the vibe and the vibration and energy, another great quote is by Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energies, frequencies, and vibrations.
Wow.
So this is a scientist saying this. We're coming from like the sort of spiritual side aspect of things, perspective. But guess what? They're all saying the same thing, right? And so for me, the science is like when we get beyond the thinking mind into this deeper layer of awareness that we all have, this deeper layer of awareness at our innermost core of our being is our true nature. There's a quiet stillness there that operates. The mind becomes quiet, and this is what we call a state of bliss consciousness. This is what I call the tiramisu within you. So tiramisu, for people who aren't aware, translates to lift me up. And so I mean it, not literally, but I mean it metaphorically, that we all have a lift me up energy inside of us that is our natural, abundant energy source within us at the innermost core of our being. So be yourself. Don't try and be me. Get inspired by me. Get inspired by Patty. I'm inspired by you. You're inspired by me. And, we all have stuff to share. I'm excited to be more grounded like you. And, certain things that you're probably excited to, to get expanded from my energy.
Sure. So I can share like my chocolate mud cake and have some of your tiramisu and can have a massive feast.
Absolutely. Bring it on. And that's a good reminder, right? Like to remember about the pleasures of life. What brings us joy. Coming back to those when we were children, we were having a birthday cake. We all cuddle around the cake. We're so excited. And so it's like bringing back the play, and the pleasure of life, and the curiosity. I think is so important because sometimes we get serious.
Yeah, I love that reflection, and it reminds me of, I remember Aubrey Marcus had a podcast where he was talking about like finding your purpose, and often the way people try to find their purpose, including myself, has been to get really analytical about it and really try to like, list out all the different things, like even the Ikigai model, which I love, but like still very much from the head. And this model that he shared was actually, he called it track your enthusiasm. And so just for every day for 30 days, just at the end of the day, spend 2 minutes writing down what lit me up today, what made me feel happy, what made me feel excited, and then just do a little bit more of that the next day.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like super simple, right? It sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
But it's easy.
And a part of that we need is self-awareness, awareness. And that's why I put so much emphasis on meditation, because meditation, the purpose of it all is to expand awareness. And that's what we're lacking in this attention economy.
Yeah.
Our attention's getting sucked into the devices, into computers, into the phones, into social media. We're really needing to wrestle back that attention, expand our awareness so that we can self-reflect, so we can detect the areas in our life that are lifting our energy and giving us enthusiasm, and detect the areas that are dipping our energy. And then we got to then, once we have that awareness, then you have a choice. This is such an empowering thing. You choose what environments do you want to operate in, what environments are going to lift your energy, what people inspire you. So this is where we start to make choices and take courageous action. So when I talk about meditation, meditation is not just for sitting in stillness with the eyes closed. Meditation is for action in the world. Meditation is to get clear, empty the mind to get to the truth. I open my eyes, I'm ready to go, I'm clear on what to do next. Let's do it. Let's create our reality that we desire.
Love that, man. Love that. And so, I'd love to dive into transcendental meditation a little bit more, because, you're a very comprehensive human being, got many different paths and facets to you, but I know this is like so core to you and your philosophies and everything. Especially would love to like tune into like how people can apply this in the business world as well, or in leadership of groups and everything there. But let's maybe start with this technique, transcendental meditation, right? Like this is the one that people might have heard about, like a lot of like celebrities have like really had a lot of success using this model as well.
Yeah, Oprah Winfrey, Hugh Jackman, Ray Dalio, who's one of the top hedge fund managers in the world. Russell Simmons. There's people in the music industry, people in the movie industry, CEOs. I'd say most CEOs in the world are probably doing this technique. That's how powerful it is. And why is it so powerful? It's only a 20-minute meditation practice. And it helps disarm the thinking mind, and it goes into that deep, deep, deep place of awareness, the purest form of our awareness. And so this is why it's so good, because it's so quick and effective. With consistent practice, 20 minutes ideally in the morning, 20 minutes in the afternoon, so twice a day is like best recommended practice. The consistency of it, it's quite disciplined practice, right? You're showing up every day, non-negotiable. Do you brush your teeth every day?
Yeah.
Do you have a shower every day?
Most days.
Good. We're eating food every day typically, if we're not fasting. So it all comes down to priorities. What are you prioritizing? For me, back to Aubrey Marcus, what he said before about the enthusiasm and tracking things. Success leads a trail. When I was living in New York and Silicon Valley, I just observed the successful people. When I say success here, I don't just mean financial success, material success. I mean success in their well-being, success in their relationships, and success in they're doing the thing that lights up their spirit frequently. That might be their work, or it might be a creative pursuit on the side. So that's what I mean by holistic success. Right? Because so many people, success comes at a cost sometimes, which is of their health and their relationships. Is that true success? For me, absolutely not. So that's why I think it's very popular, this technique. And just be careful, just so I don't get sued. I teach a transcendence-based meditation technique. I can't say transcendental meditation because that's a specific organization.
Cool.
And
similarities.
they're very similar techniques.
Yeah.
They're a transcending technique.
Mm-hmm.
Transcendence just means go beyond. So what are we going beyond? We're going beyond the thinking mind into deeper and quieter states of awareness. Ultimately, to this state of awareness, which is our purest state of awareness, which is unbounded consciousness and stillness. In that place is the same place of our strength, our power, our love, our intuitive, creative wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very powerful state to operate in. And often in that state, it's such a great brainstorming state because you just have, it's the source of that intuitive wisdom. What comes up is just this amazing what to do next. It's like it prioritizes life for you.
Right.
It's
without needing to like think about all the different like permutations of different outcomes and second and third downstream effects. It's like, cool, answer's just there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how we get into it is through effortlessness. And that's the nature here of when we come into this effortless state, which is the opposite to how most of us have been trained. Most of us have been trained to force things, go after your dreams, like push. Here we're saying, let's do the opposite here. Let's let go. Let's surrender. Let's be effortless. The least amount of effort. And in that least amount of effort state, that's when you drop into these amazing deep states of stillness.
Yeah.
In that deep state of stillness, when you're not trying so hard, then just naturally and spontaneously, this amazing idea will bubble up. And this idea is coming from your deep, true, your higher intelligence.
Yeah. Gotta be honest, man, I really struggle with the effortlessness part.
Yeah.
Every time I try to do it, like I try. I really try.
Yeah.
And often I've found that's blocked my progress. And progress is probably not even the right word. And I feel like maybe I've just got so much conditioning, right, from all the school days where like effort is so celebrated, and like there's obviously a place for effort, and certainly not discrediting effort, full stop. But I've also seen the benefits of effortlessness. I just haven't worked that muscle as strongly as the effort muscle.
Correct. Yet.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's why, we say this is a practice. It's a daily practice. Let's be consistent. The more consistent we are, we'll start to train.
Yeah.
And this is why I love the Star Wars. Yoda, his famous quote, Master Yoda, is, we must unlearn what we have learned. So early on, I teach the meditation course in a 3-session format over 3 consecutive days, 2 hours each session. Why I do this, and all of the teachers that are practicing this technique and teaching this technique do this format, because most people struggle to unlearn what they have learned in 1 session.
Yeah.
Often, second session, they're still struggling. The third session, I see people start to really get it. So the first part of really practicing correctly is to really let yourself go, allow yourself to let go. Yeah. It's a very tough thing for most of us to do because we're so used to holding on to control. And it's a mistake of the intellect again. It's a perception that if we let go, we lose control.
Right.
But actually it's a misnomer. When we let go, you actually drop into your true nature, and that's where that place of that emotional stability is in yourself. So you're more grounded, more centered, more connected. Yeah. And then you start trusting that, cool, I'm held in me, right? I'm supported, boom, stable. It becomes easier to then let go and be more effortless.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key thing here is there's still a bit of effort, but there's least amount of effort possible.
Okay. So it still registers on the sonograph, whatever type of metric we're using.
Yes.
But the minimal possible register.
Correct. Now, in that minimal possible effort, we're starting to conserve energy.
Yeah.
And we're really starting to move into the subtleties of our deeper awareness states.
Can I get it right? Like, is it, like, in terms of what my mind wants to latch onto now is, like, the way to win this game, the way to, like, get this right is to get the least possible effort. But I feel like I'm still putting effort into that. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. Am I still kind of, like, coming at it from almost the opposite paradigm? Or
no. I think you've got the right intention.
Yeah.
Right? So you know sort of where you're going, I think it's like we're always just tweaking, finding that balance of the amount of effort. And I'm still learning, because there's a quote in my the Vedic worldview. The Vedic is like a period and a region in India, right? A lot of deep wisdom, a lot of like sages, right? Deep wisdom.
This is related to like Hinduism and
which Hinduism came after this region, so this is like predates religion, and which I think is really cool. And there's no sort of stigma or dogma. It's like all observation based experiences rather than faith based. So that's what I love. That's why it sort of resonates with me, because I'm not into dogma. Don't need to be told what to believe in. It's like, here, try these techniques. You observe how it feels in you, and then you tell me, what the experience you had. So I like, So there's a quote which is, do less, achieve more. Do least, achieve most. Do nothing, achieve everything. So naturally, in order to explore it and experience it for myself, I've attempted to do nothing and achieve everything, and see how it works in my life. And what I've come to learn is, and the achieve most, do least, achieve most, is when we can drop into such a deep state of awareness, connect to that higher intelligence of our truth, that source. You get clear on, okay, cool, this is what lights up my spirit. This is the heart's desire, rather than the egoic, fear-based limitation desire from the mind. So it's a heart's desire rather than the mind's desire. It's a difference. Then I take a little bit of action. So maybe that action might be, I'm going to speak to my mate Paddy about this idea that I have. It's come up. And then all of a sudden, that chat to you, you connect me, you go, oh, I know someone who is in that industry or can help support that. All of a sudden, boom, 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 things just manifested quite effortlessly without me needing to do all of the heavy lifting. All I had to do was just listen, connect, and then take a bit of action. Not too much action, but action. So I think this is where we start to just learn, and how we learn is just by experimentation, and I'm learning as I go.
Amazing.
And I have noticed the more we're in this least effort, the more cosmic alignment that we're feeling. And what that means is just like flow. And I know in the business world, we love talking about that flow state. So what that flow state looks like is more synchronicities happen, right? You speak the heart of what desires, what's coming up, and then things just seem to like boom, 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 come together pretty quickly.
Like coincidences almost.
Correct. And that's why we should start to expect these coincidences rather than be surprised about them. I expect it now. I laugh and go, of course. So all of a sudden, with that energy, we're starting to expect more of these synchronicities. That means flow, alignment. We're aligned. Nature's supporting that flow. So Nature's the universe.
Would you say that's also a way to like follow the energy, right? If we're noticing synchronicities, we're noticing coincidences come up, just get curious, like, what's this trying to show me? Is this maybe like a door being opened for me to step through if I choose to?
Absolutely. And that's where it's like, follow the charm. Follow the bliss.
Follow the white rabbit.
Follow the white rabbit of Matrix, if everyone doesn't know what the white rabbit is.
And then also follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
That was based off. So.
Cool.
So it's all pointing to the same thing there, right? It's like nature, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, life is trying to like take us on a wild adventure. And like,
where to though? Where's it trying to take us?
Or on our soul's path.
Yes, our highest path, our highest version. Which is cool. So when we all know this, and this takes a little bit of like, all right, that might be considered dogma, right? According to who, right? The highest path. Okay, well, we got to sort of like go in some direction. So if we just listen to like what lights us up, that seems like a good direction to go in. What gives us better health, what inspires us. And, I love the quote by Confucius, do what you love and you'll never work another day in your life. So I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. Never work another day in your life. All right, I'll subscribe to that. So once we've got a bit of direction, we're following the charm. And I love that, the charm or the energy is just taking us on our highest path. Awesome. And what we need, though, is to detect the signs. So So that's why I put a big emphasis on meditation, because it rapidly expands our self-awareness so we can detect the signs. We can start to see more clearly.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. And I've kind of been journeying sometimes with this, what feels like duality of sometimes like noticing signs outside and wanting to like follow them, and then listening to my heart and like what's exciting my heart and, you know, what do I want. And sometimes those two haven't been fully aligned. And then I'm like, well, which one? Like, if I go down one path, am I dishonoring the other as well? Like, I mean, I've had my own journey with that, but does that resonate for you at all? Like, have you ever experienced that?
Yeah, sort of like a confusion over, confliction.
Yeah.
Conflicted over which way to go.
Yeah, and like almost feeling like the external world is trying to guide me in one path, and my internal compass is pointing a different direction. And I'm like, well, what do I believe here? Like, which way do I go?
Here we go. So herein lies the great challenge, or how we need to be discerning, because there's going to be so many external influences. We have to be careful not to be influenced by the external, because then you're going against that internal, which I believe is the higher intelligence of the soul journey, right? Because the external influences don't know your soul, right? So why are you being influenced by them, right? It's so easy because they're so influential. That's why Tony Robbins always talks about your environment is often stronger than your willpower. So get in a supportive environment, a work environment, a friendship environment, a place where you live. Is it supportive to your highest and best? We've got to be really diligent on that. I had to remove myself from quite a toxic corporate environment initially. Then I sort of found a bit more of my groove where I could be more of myself. It was a more supportive environment. Same thing with family members. Sometimes it's not the most supportive environment. So you've got to start to just be better with your boundaries and be like, you know what, I'm going to spend a little bit less time there and I'm going to spend a bit more time here. Why? Because I feel like I can be more of myself. And for that feels good. Better energy.
I heard a really good thing about like family or people that like we still want in our lives and we want to connect with, but we're finding challenges around that, what you just shared. And the advice was that like find what lights their heart up. Like all we've been speaking about for ourselves, like apply that to your family member. And then connect with them there. So like maybe, you know, basketball isn't your thing, but if your dad loves it and he's always in a good mood when he's watching basketball, like maybe that's where you connect with your dad. Even if like the other ways you try to connect with him haven't worked as well. So just being a bit fluid in kind of how we can have those connections can be powerful too.
Beautiful. Yeah, I really love that bit because I've definitely challenged with my family and their interests, and they're not interested in some of the stuff I'm interested in. So, you know, sometimes for this relatability to maintain this connection, we have to sacrifice some of our own preferences. Not all the time, but sometimes if you want to maintain that dynamic. So, but if you're doing that too much, then you're going against your heart's desires and your intuitive on how you want to, be around. So it's always just fine tuning things.
It's always a choice too, right? And I'm certainly not saying take up playing basketball and making that your life passion, but like maybe watching a game every month might be where your boundary is, and you can fill in that for yourself. But just like also I think if people want to start without necessarily changing their outside environment, which might be where they get to, even just like what we consume, right? Like the media we consume, choosing podcasts or audiobooks or music that's like really uplifting and exciting us rather than the stuff that drains us and brings us into that feelings of anger or which again, hashtag all the vibes. Like anger is important, we both know this. Grief is important, but do we choose it on a consistent basis? That's kind of the question I ask myself.
I think let's extrapolate that on a little bit, because I think you see good vibes only all the time, and I definitely had that ideology and desire. But then I realized I was suppressing within myself my sadness, my anger, I wasn't really honoring every emotion that wanted to be expressed or felt. And in the spiritual circles, and here we are, Patty and I, we're bridging we're bringing the spiritual, perspectives, bridging it into the material world, into the business world, into the leadership world. And so to be the most whole in ourselves, we need to honor every part of ourselves. And there's a saying, in order to heal it, you have to feel it. You got to feel it to heal it. So you're like, okay, what's my job? I just got to feel every emotion. Don't suppress any emotion. So this is where #all the vibes. We allow it to come. And there's a great quote by a poem by Rumi.
Okay.
It's called The Guest House. I don't know it off by heart now, so I can't say it. But everyone look up The Guest House poem by Rumi. And it's really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And it's all about honoring every emotion that arises and welcome them into your house. You welcome the joy, you welcome the sadness, you welcome the challenging, difficult situation that arises in your life. You welcome it all. And this is what's really, really cool.
Yeah. So I think we've got it here. Let's just see if we can get it loaded up.
This is perfect timing. Well done. Good job.
So do you want to read it out?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door, laughing, and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Love that. Powerful, Rumi. I love that.
Beautiful. So it's a good reminder, because I think we're not trained up for this in the Western world at all. We're trained to suppress emotions, don't show your perceived weakness, but it's actually just honoring your feelings. Especially as a man, we were trained not to cry, man up. So leadership, I think, is being authentic. Leadership is honoring all of what you're feeling. And if you can honor it in yourself, guess what? You're going to be able to connect with all of your team, meet them on a deeper level. Guess what happens from that? Deeper connection,
Trust.
more trust.
Yeah.
Trust is everything.
Yeah.
And then with more trust, I want to work harder for you.
Yes.
And it's a team where I'm seen.
Maybe I'm a potential client, right? If I trust you, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to pay you.
Yes.
I'm not going to give you my money if I don't trust you on some degree.
Yes.
So yeah, business is all about relationships, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that, man. One quote that I love that I just have to share in this context as well is that bliss is any emotion fully felt.
Ooh, cool.
And some people might resonate with this, other people might not have experienced it. But for me, I've had some moments where I've had the privilege of feeling grief, where I was able to really feel it and just let it fully wash through me. And it just felt so cathartic to cry these tears of release.
Yes.
When my nan died, for example, just had this real felt sense of all of this grief I'm feeling is a direct reflection of the amount of love that I had for her. And how beautiful, what a gift,
Yes.
So that then applies to every emotion as well.
Yes.
How we choose to acknowledge it. So #all the vibes for sure, man.
I love that you shared that, because it's feeling fully the emotion. And in that process, it helps release it.
Yeah.
So it no longer is anchoring us as baggage. So herein lies the challenge with the business world. It's like they've turned us into robots. You're not meant to show any emotion. But guess what? We are emotional beings. When I worked at Google, they wanted to take the emotion out of the hiring process. What do you mean? We're humans. How can you take the emotion out of the hiring process? You feel a vibe. That's an emotion. It's an energy thing. So here we need to start amplifying our intuitive abilities to connect. And part of it is being real and authentic. And that's what we're bringing back into the business world, back into leadership. The more authentic. That's why people like Aubrey Marcus is, you start to see it. These authentic leaders are starting to become more prominent. Right? If you're suppressing stuff, guess what? you're going to get caught out because no one can feel you deeply.
Yeah.
You're operating in your head. You're operating out of fear. You're limited.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. Let's get into here. This is where the real magic is. People feel it. And guess what? All of your colleagues, all of your staff will start operating as a family unit. And guess what a family unit does? They stick together. So guess what? You're going to help with retention for your business.
Love that.
Right?
Love that.
And you're going to start attracting better talent. Because why? People want the best vibes. People want to feel like they've got their back. People have got their back. Their bosses have got their back.
I love that. Probably, is that, would you say, from working at Google was something that Google did well, like in terms of the vibe that was created? Like, never having worked at Google, but witnessing it from afar, it felt like somewhere that I wanted to be. Like, even though, it wasn't necessarily on paper everything that I wanted, just the vibe of it was like, cool, like, that looks like a fun place to be.
Absolutely. I think the good thing that Google did was they hire upon googliness, they call it. And what does googliness mean? It means, are you bringing your own unique flavor?
Love that.
Which was nice.
What's the definition of the word Google, right? It's like the largest number. It's like a 1 with a million zeros or something like that.
Yes.
So to me, that just highlights, it's close to infinity, right? So everyone therefore has to be themselves because there's space for everyone to be that number.
Yeah, it was good. It was a great company to work for sure. Anytime you get such a big company, there's always office politics. There's always politics. So, a lot of people, when you're working at Google as well, a lot of people want to join the next startup that is going to become the next Google, the next Facebook. So, there's that excitement. I think when you're at Google, it's already so established and so big, people probably lack a little bit of motivation there after a while because it's so just already doing its thing. You don't feel like you're making that much impact for the place.
Sure.
But, it's a great place to work and it's like a wonderland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it makes sense that as the organization gets bigger, there's a requirement for more structure to kind of like keep it all together.
Yes.
So then that can also like move it away from some of the flow and the magic
Yes.
that was there in the first place.
Speaking of the flow and the magic, one of the things that Google had in the early days was, let's say we're software engineers working at Google, they would have a thing called 20% brainstorm time, which was they would leave their day-to-day job, still whilst on campus, still at work, they would brainstorm other creative projects that ended up becoming other businesses within Google, other little streams. And so they allowed creativity to flourish, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And Einstein was the best at this. Einstein, when he was stuck on a problem, he would stop the problem, stop trying to think about the answer, the creative solution to the problem. He would go for a walk around the block, or was famous for his little swims. And often when he was swimming or walking, boom, a light bulb moment, the answer would come when he was not thinking about the problem. Google cottoned onto that and started to create that in their work environment.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Awesome.
So a good little, seed planted for everyone out there, rather than like how much productivity, create a bit of micro recoveries, a bit of spaciousness in their work schedules, and more magic will come from it.
It's cool. What I'm hearing as well in everything that you're sharing here is like, with sometimes the desire for businesses to remove the emotions, we're actually like removing the humanity, and we're actually just turning humans into people like delivering a function, which as AI continues to develop and evolve, like the functions are very easy to replace, right? But the humanness is what the AI is always going to struggle with.
Yeah.
And like as a leader, especially someone bringing their full humanity, which, as you said, be yourself, everyone else is taken. Out of 8 billion people on the planet, there's only one you. So the only way that someone can like show up as themselves, like no one can replicate that. Not a computer, not another human. And that's kind of what people feel. It's like, oh, this is a human that I can trust, and they're helping me be a human. But like, why else am I here on this planet if not to be the human that I'm meant to be?
Correct.
Yeah.
So here we go. So I hope this has sparked in the listeners here a bit of curiosity to ask the question, like, what am I here to give? What is my uniqueness, and how can I share this uniqueness? I realized my uniqueness after lots of meditation and sitting with it and experimenting. What's my uniqueness? It's my playful spirit that I bring.
Mm-hmm.
And like how you said, when you're around me, what you feel inspired,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm reflecting to you what you like in me is what you have in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just, by me shining my authenticity, you get this chance to see your own authenticity.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all just trying to do, just bring each other back home to our uniqueness.
Love that, man.
And expressing it.
To the tiramisu within you.
To the tiramisu within you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything else? So let's land the plane on this concept, because I think this is so powerful, right? Like this metaphor of the tiramisu within you, like has so many layers, and would love to hear like you talk about, this book that you're writing that is all around this concept.
Yeah. So the book title is The Tiramisu Within You. It will be out in early 2024, and it's almost complete. And talk about the title, Choosing Me. This book was meant for me to write.
Mm-hmm.
The title initially started as The Powerhouse Within, which was a very Tony Robbins style title. Yes, it was me, but it wasn't fully me.
Mm-hmm.
Then I changed it to The God Within.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that's a bit provocative. It's going to seem too religious. I wanted to distance myself from religion.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, religion, spirituality, they're very charged words, emotionally charged. A lot of people got negative connotations. So let's remove those words and let's just talk about connection, right? How connected are we to ourselves, to our heart's desires? How connected are we to the earth? How connected are we to the cosmos? How connected are we to the sun, to the moon, the cycles of nature? Connection. That's the name of the game. So the tiramisu, it just sort of landed. I was like, oh, the tiramisu within. It was honoring my Italian roots. And then I was like, the tiramisu within you. It's a nice little play on words, anchoring everyone. Where is it? Oh, it's within you.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. All right, that's where to look. And the tiramisu, I love eating tiramisu. And there's so many layers to it, so much wisdom to the tiramisu. One of the wisdoms is there's a yogic philosophy called brahmacharya, which means moderation.
Okay.
Now, I don't drink coffee every day. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't do much sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do dairy.
Yeah, well.
All of these things are in the tiramisu.
Yeah.
Yet I don't feel guilty or shameful when I eat the tiramisu. I enjoy it fully.
Mm-hmm.
And I maximize, I have a pleasurable experience eating it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I talk about the tiramisu to people, it brings a sense of awe, brings a sense of playfulness. Their heart seems to open up. Why? When we eat the tiramisu, we're around friends and family. It's a shared experience. It's a shared elevation experience.
Yeah.
So there's so many layers to the tiramisu. Like how the tiramisu has got layers to make it.
Yeah.
Consciousness or awareness has got layers. Most of us are operating up in the layer in the thinking mind, the limitations of the fear-based thinking mind.
The coffee?
Well, yeah, potentially, yeah. Actually, the coffee is a good example because the coffee is a stimulant that often a lot of people say it gets them to be a little bit too stimulated and they get a bit jittery. Mm-hmm. So that's when we're caught up in the mind, right? Got to do. You're in this frantic state.
Yeah.
Right? So consciousness or awareness has got layers. And this is why I teach the meditation technique that I do, because it takes us into that deeper layer at the innermost core of our being that most of us have not experienced in our life, because it's a very unique foreign place to operate in. Mm-hmm. Without the right teacher or technique, it's very hard to operate in this stillness state where your mind is completely still.
Yeah.
And even, you've been practicing for a while this technique and still struggle to access that place.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It doesn't mean you're practicing incorrectly. Mm-hmm. It just means we've got to keep practicing and keep letting go. Yeah. And over time, we'll just start to establish ourselves in that state. And then with our eyes open experience, that state will just permeate in our natural state of being.
Yeah, love that, man. Love that. Yeah, it's so perfect. It's such a great example of like someone finding like the message that is just like straight from the heart and so authentic to you. Like when you talk about it, it's just like, it wouldn't feel right for me to share the tiramisu within you, but like for you, it's like, no.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And so a bit of patience is needed for everyone out there. If they're wanting to find their thing, be patient with it. It's going to unfold. like consciousness expands spontaneously and naturally, when we're listening and moving in the direction of expression, it'll happen naturally.
Yeah.
So just be patient, keep listening, and the things will land for you. If you keep asking the right questions, nature, the universe will give you the right answers. So ask the right questions and good answers will come.
Love that. I think that's a beautiful place to end it. Where can people find you? Where can they sign up for your meditation course? Eventually get the book? Just connect with you.
Yeah, so the website and my Instagram, my Instagram is at Nico DiMattina, NicoDimattina.
Yep. We'll put all this in the show notes as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then, the website is the same, www.nicodimattina.com.
Amazing, bro.
Easy, it's all there. And indulge in your curiosity and you won't be disappointed.
Love that. Love that.
It's been so good. Thank you for having me.
Any final messages or anything you want to share with anyone listening to this today?
Yeah, I'd say stay curious and keep it playful.
Love that.
The playfulness will keep you in your joy, will keep you into that enthusiasm. And there's a great quote by Earl Nightingale. He says, the word entheo, the Latin word enthusiasm, comes from the Latin word entheo, which means to be connected to God. And those people who have maintained their connection to their enthusiasm have maintained their connection.
Amazing. Thanks, brother.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Love you heaps.
It's been special. Right back at you.
Much love, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Leaders with Heart today. We appreciate you taking the time to tune in. And if you found value in today's episode, we would appreciate it massively if you shared this with a friend or a colleague. This is something that can massively benefit their day. And I also appreciate it so much because in the early days of building a podcast, anything like liking, subscribing, giving it a 5-star review, it all supports me spreading this message and mission of leading with heart with as many people as possible. So much gratitude to you for being here. And if you want to connect, I also love hearing from you. You can find mine and the guests' social media details in the show notes below. Mine are paddymac.truth on Instagram and Leaders with Heart on LinkedIn. The website leaderswithheart.com.au is another place you can find me. But until next time, have a beautiful day and sending you so much love.